All right, guys, let's go to the phone lines for our first interview of the day. This is actually going to wrap up today our President's Cup week, brought to you by the fine folks at the Golf Channel who have been so gracious in providing us some fantastic interviews throughout the week. You heard Brandel Chambly the other day. You heard Rich Lerner yesterday. And our final guest got her on the phone a little bit earlier, and she said, hey, it's your local girl, and that's exactly who it is. She's Kelly Tilghman, grew up in North Myrtle Beach. You've seen her doing play-by-play on the network's PGA Tour coverage, co-anchors the network's signature news program, Golf Central, even on EA Sports Tiger Woods game. You're all over the place, Kelly.
And I'm taunting people on video games. It's what I guess it's my talent. So I'm glad I got a chance to do that. I taunt people well.
Well, we got a whole bunch we can talk about. We'll try to limit it. We'll talk a little President's Cup. Got a couple questions for you about the LPGA and golf in general. But
yeah, I talk golf all day, so the stage is yours. Let's do this.
There you go. Let's start off, of course, with the President's Cup. Looking back last night, day one of the President's Cup, it was actually, everyone's talking about Tiger Woods and Steve Stricker and the biggest loss in the history of the President's Cup, but it was actually a really good day for the Americans, except for that one match. What did you make of yesterday's play?
Yeah, I tell you, when those guys were getting beat, they were probably 4 down through 7. The Americans were trailing in 4 matches at that point, and I thought, this is going to be very interesting. This is looking more like 1998 already. That's the only time the Internationals have won outright, and it happened to be right there at Royal Melbourne. In 9 meetings, or 8 previous, 1 outright win by the Internationals at Royal Melbourne. So just you're thinking course knowledge is going to be all over their side. And then everybody's so consumed with this beating 7-6 of Woods and Stricker that they forgot to watch maybe the end of the rest of the matches when a couple of teams rallied back and got some precious half points or took the match. And all of a sudden, the Americans are 4-2, and that's critical, Aaron, as you know, because if you capture this first session, you've established yourself and you've got a little momentum, and you're no longer playing catch-up. You're playing the role of leader, and that is an intimidating factor in match play that can carry throughout the sessions.
So a lot of people had predicted, actually, that the international team could possibly pick up their second President's Cup victory, but the Americans get off to that great start, actually leading it 4-2. How was the tone set for the rest of the tournament, do you think? What do you predict to happen today, and how does this help the Americans, the fact that they actually did play really well outside of that one match?
That's a good question. I think because there are 5 Australians on this international side, I still think the crowd support is going to be tremendous for the first couple of days. What's going to be interesting is how the United States performs in 4 balls this afternoon, where everybody's playing their own ball, you're putting up the best score, better ball, and if they dominate in this format like they have traditionally in years past, I have a feeling that they're going to quiet the crowds down. And that's not going to help the international team at all. They need their 13th man. They need crowd support to keep the guys jacked up. It works in Ryder Cups. You've seen what the Europeans have been able to do with this. And you saw what it did for Paul Azinger at Valhalla a few years ago when the U.S. was struggling to win one, and he got the 13th man on their side. So I think it's critical for the internationals to keep this thing competitive until Saturday at least, because that way the crowds can help them. But I think today is going to be... I think today might determine the outcome to a certain degree. I think it's very important.
Sure, absolutely. So the big news so far today is that the pairings were announced, and you tweeted that it's the end of an era. Tiger Woods and Steve Stricker will be separated for the first time since 2007, which creates a very interesting match that certainly a lot of people here in Myrtle Beach on the Grand Strand are going to be interested in, along with the rest of the world.
DJ, baby.
Tiger paired with DJ going against the Australian duo, Jason Day and Aaron Baddeley. Give us a quick preview breakdown of this matchup, which will probably be the most intriguing one going into the night.
Well, the psychological dynamics of this are fascinating. First of all, let's just get this conversation out of the way. Everybody might be familiar, especially people in Myrtle Beach, because they follow Dustin closely, about the caddy switch. Dustin had Joe LaCava on the bag. Joe LaCava, in his words, and everyone seems to be in agreement here, you don't hear another story, wanted to go to Tiger's bag. It was his choice. He reached out to Tiger, according to Joe. And Dustin is such a cool guy. He's so laid back, and we've seen how resilient he's been in the major championships, how he's let things go roll off of his back, and he's gotten back in the hunt. It speaks volumes to his personality. I think Dustin, this was another situation where he totally gets the fact that Joe LaCava had a chance to caddy for Tiger Woods, and he took it. Almost any caddy, I would think any caddy would do that. A chance to walk alongside an historic figure. So, that said, these two guys, I am convinced, are still friends. They've put that behind them, and Dustin's such a cool guy, he's not even going to think twice about it. So, I think there's a good dynamic between these two guys. They enjoy each other's company. I'd like to see Tiger smile. I haven't seen him smile since he stepped onto the grounds yet, only from the video that I have seen. I'd like to see him smile. I think Dustin's going to allow him to do that. That said, Aaron Baddeley and Jason Day, on paper, look like a wrecking crew. But yesterday, at the end of their match, they had it in their hands. They were a couple up, and Baddeley hit a poor approach shot, an alternate shot on 17, got caught up in the wind and came up short. He was disturbed by that. Got on the tee at 18 and hit one in the rough, and Jason Day couldn't recover from it. He was in tears, literally in tears after the match was over. They ended up with a half. And Norman gave him a pep talk, but it's going to be interesting to see how Baddeley recovers from that downfall and how Tiger responds to a 7-6. They were demolished. I think it's going to be interesting to see how he responds from his worst loss in match play history, not just at the President's Cup, but personally as well. And I can't wait for this particular battle.
Yeah, it's a very intriguing matchup. Lots of storylines around it. We're talking with Kelly Tilghman from the Golf Channel, play-by-play host for the network's PGA Tour coverage, co-anchor of the network's signature news program, Golf Central. And also a quick reminder, guys, this week, our President's Cup week brought to you by the Golf Channel. Today, live from the President's Cup on 4 to 5:30. So, obviously, this was recorded a little bit earlier in the day, Kelly, because our listeners can get home and watch you on TV. And then the President's Cup coverage begins at 5:30 until midnight tonight. We'll get back to the President's Cup in just a moment. A few other questions for you. Been talking about the LPGA a little bit this week, and this past year, they had to scramble to pick up some events going into the season a year ago to fill their schedule. The fan base has become majority in Asia. It's dwindling in the U.S., but now we've got a girl named Lexi Thompson who becomes the youngest winner on tour, and all of a sudden there's a lot of things going on this girl's shoulders. And one of the things that concerns me is that we did this once already with Michelle Wie. Now, the difference is Michelle Wie didn't win at such a young age, whereas Lexi Thompson has. Is she the type of player that can relish this, can build off it, can handle it, and bring a lot of these fans and some major sponsors back on board with what the LPGA is doing?
I think so, Aaron. I really do. We all watched Michelle Wie come up similar to the way Tiger did, constantly in the limelight, almost a real-life Truman Show. The cameras have been on her since she was 13 years old. She won the Pub Links at a very young age, and then she missed making her first ever attempt to make a cut on the PGA Tour by one shot. Had she made that cut, I think a lot of things would have been different. But over the course of the last, 8 years, I think Michelle has missed opportunities to grow her confidence. She didn't win at every level on a regular basis and graduate to the next level. She didn't develop notches of confidence along the way. So I think it remains to be seen if she's going to live up to her potential, but she's only 22, and there's still plenty of time for her to get out of college and begin to flourish as a young adult. So that said, I think Michelle Wie and her family had visions of grandeur of what they wanted, and they put it out there for the world to chew on. Our expectations were tremendous. Lexi's a different story. Lexi, her parents, they've never touted what she's going to be. They've never placed her out there as a marketing tool to pull in millions of dollars and sign these early contracts. This young woman is a genuine competitor. She grew up with brothers that she could hang with. They're playing professional golf now. Her brother is on the PGA Tour, just got his card back. I mean, this is a good story. And I think that she has grown up in a different way than Michelle. And I believe that she genuinely loves to compete just for the love of the game. I don't think there's a marketing strategy here, and I think she's actually shying away from this idea that she's going to save the LPGA Tour. She was quoted yesterday saying, "I'm not a savior. I don't want to be labeled as a savior." And even the LPGA commissioner, Michael Wan, said, "I don't want you to do this to her." As he's almost begging the media not to put her on this platform and put demands on her. He thinks they have plenty of young American stars. The difference is they're not winning enough. Paula Creamer is a great package. She's just not winning enough. Michelle Wie, same deal. Morgan Pressel, same deal. She did get her major early, but I think the American public wants it at a tiger-like clip, and that's just asking a lot. Michael Wan, the commissioner, said, we have that person right now. It's Yanni Sin, our number one player. But as you said, the fan base in Asia is tremendous, but the Americans are having a hard time grabbing onto that personality. But I'll give it up for Yanni. She's learning the language. She's fluent in English, and she's trying to perfect it every day. And great sense of humor. But I hope that we don't put too much pressure on Lexi. I think she's in for the long haul. I really do.
Yeah, I think a substantial amount of pressure was put on Michelle Wie, which may have affected some of her performances out there. Kelly, this next question I want to throw out to you actually came from one of our listeners. Occasionally, our listeners will email in questions they want us to ask, and if we feel they're a good one, this one came from Sam in Myrtle Beach, just about the fact that you grew up in North Myrtle Beach. The Grand Strand calls itself the golf capital of the world, but we don't really have any professional events here. Why do you think that is, and can that change in the future?
Yeah, you're right. We did have one. The ladies used to make a stop on the south end of town, and the golf course fantastic, and they really like the stop. But the LPGA is in a special situation financially. If the PGA Tour is working hard to find sponsorship in this economy, you can only imagine how difficult it is for the LPGA Tour, which doesn't pull the ratings numbers. Doesn't have nearly the draw or the viewership that the PGA Tour has. It's not even, you can't compare it. So I think they're challenged to find permanent locations for anything. I mean, they've even been moving their crown jewel events around quite a bit. Finally, we have this title holders event, which is prestigious here in Orlando. It used to be down in South Florida. Even the major championships are looking for some permanent homes. So I think the LPGA has done a fantastic job of keeping this ship afloat in a dismal economy. And I give credit to Michael Wan. I hear that he is tremendous in the boardrooms with relationships and communicating with potential sponsors, current sponsors. He's very easy to talk to, and I think that's what they need right now. And I hope it pays dividends down the road. But I'd love to see a permanent event come back to the area, whether it's at Barefoot or on the south end of town at one of those fine courses, or even in my little nook of North Myrtle Beach. We've got some great little stops there. Sure. I'd love to see it happen. Hopefully we can get that going in the future.
Now, you're a Duke grad. I know you're busy this week. Did you get a chance to watch Coach K set the record the other night?
Never too busy to watch history. Never too busy. I was actually working during the first half of the show on Live From, and I was on Twitter while I was working saying, hey, everybody, I don't think I'm not thinking about it. And then as soon as the show was over, I got in my car, risked a speeding ticket to get home, and ate 2 pieces of pizza, had a glass of red wine, and, just watched history unfold as Bobby Knight was there at the end on the call, which I thought was a classy touch by ESPN and by Bobby Knight. And that moment they shared on the court afterwards. And I loved Coach K, how humble he was, giving it up for the teams. And it's really their honor more than his, and how he was going to take that game ball and put it in the Duke Hall of Fame because that's where it belongs. He's such a great guy and a great leader. And I think based on what we've just been through here as a nation, as a sports nation with the Joe Paterno, tragically, what has happened at Penn State, I think it was almost an elixir to a certain degree, an ointment, if you will, to have Coach K do that. It soothed the pain just a little bit. I think it's great for him to see him achieve that. Just from a sports perspective, I think what's happened at Penn State is just horrific, and hopefully that school can recover and get back to its winning ways in the sports department. And for the victims, my heart goes out, and I hope that they can find justice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Guys, she is Kelly Tilghman, play-by-play host for the network's Golf Channel's PGA Tour coverage, co-anchors the network's signature news program, Golf Central. She is on the air when you get home tonight, getting you ready for Day 2 of the President's Cup. Actually, coverage was moved up a little bit because of the possibility of inclement weather, right, Kelly?
Yeah, it was. We were originally on a 7:30 start tonight for our broadcast, and we are now up at 5:30, which is even better, because last night you had to stay up until 1, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, really, to get all your results. Tonight it's gonna come more quickly, and I'm the first one to say I go to bed at like 10:30 or 11 at night, so it's hard for me to stay up. So yeah, it'll be a little earlier, and hopefully we'll all be a little bit more wide-eyed on the East Coast to be able to watch it.
Yeah, I do an afternoon show. You're on at night. We get up early to do that stuff. I don't think people realize it. The day starts early and goes late in the world of sports.
Not all glamour, is it? But I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Kelly, I really appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of the President's Cup. Absolutely look forward to having you back on again sometime soon, and thanks a lot.
Thanks, Aaron, and just hello to all my friends and fellow citizens there in North Myrtle Beach and the whole Grand Strand area. Miss you guys, and I can't wait to get back home for a visit. Thanks.